That's what I do. And it'll be helpful to you because I can cover like a lot of AutoCAD fast. But if you don't have AutoCAD in front of you and you're not running it with me, it's really, I don't know, it's rough. It's a rough way to learn. It's a rough way to teach. So I'm going to do AutoCAD today. I'll keep it as brief as I can. You have an AutoCAD assignment. So we're going to catch up some assignments. Most of you have done lab 2. Oh, you can't see that. You got to tell me when that's not on. It's not on. Thanks. Appreciate that. The overhead projector is not on. Hockey. Yeah. Oh, it's on, but it's not extended because. There we go. I will extend it, duplicate it, whatever we do. Can you see that now? Okay, so here we are on the 25th. Here's the significant closure of the college. Lab 2, like I said, most of you have done this. Excuse me, most of you have done lab 1, which was our orthographic projections. Remember that? Yep. One of our orthographic projections, and then you did this little project, right? So I think I pulled one of them up just to talk about. Does that look familiar? Yeah, okay. So let's talk about this kind of briefly. This is Sean. He's not here. So I'm like, oh, I can pick on Sean. He's not here. He's like in Tennessee or something. How's it look? It's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's got some dimensions around it. Is there anything wrong that you see here? Doesn't line up. What's that called again? I know, it's a big word. Starts with a P. It's not in. No, it's close though. Projection. Thank you. It's not in projection. So remember that the left side of the front view should line up with the left side of the top view. That's called projection. In AutoCAD, it's really going to help you. Actually, manually, it helps you too, because all of the geometries from the front view project up and create something in the top view, right? So the whole should project straight up and create hidden lines up here. It does, but it's just kind of a little bit shifted. Like, oh, that was extra work to not put it in projection, right? These two are good. They're in projection. The whole projects over and makes hidden lines, hidden geometry, right? So every geometry, this edge projects over and creates something in the adjacent view. It's kind of how you know you got something over there, right? There's an edge or something that projects over. Overall, this is good, just fine for the first attempt. If you've never seen orthographic projection before, this is great. Actually, the dimensioning, I don't see any rules that this individual broke. These are all good. Dimension lines are not crossed. These just stand on their own. Nothing can go across them. The leader is snuck in at an angle. It's perfect. So it's really good. All right. This is what we're going to do in AutoCAD. This exact assignment. Okay. So if you have it still, that's good. If you don't have it, you can go to Blackboard if you submitted it and you could grab it back. But this is what we're going to do. Okay. You're not going to dimension it. That's like next level. If you know dimensioning, you could play with it if you want. But before we do dimensioning, we have to do model space, paper space conversation. We have to understand scale, which you had to understand scale here, but we got to understand it in AutoCAD. What's the scale on this one? 1 to 12. 1 to 12. That's how they got it a little smaller on the paper. 1 to 12 looks really good. So 1 to 8 was kind of big. I think that's what I did in class, right? And then I kind of backed off it and said, oh, it's kind of big. Anyway, in AutoCAD, we think about scale later. In AutoCAD, we draw everything 1 to 1. So if you're going to draw a truck, you draw it full size. If you're going to draw the planet Earth, you draw it full size. If you're going to draw the solar system, you draw it full size. It's awesome. AutoCAD's huge. Okay. So Good. All right, that was, I think, lab 1, right? That one. Lab 2 is up, giving you a week to do it. It's another one. Just like that, another hand sketch, lab 2. So it says, sketch the front top side view. Do not dimension this time, but it looks like that. Okay. So again, you're going to use pencil paper. You're going to do the front top side. Just more practice with orthographic projection. Usually I do 2 of those assignments before I move into AutoCAD, but we're going to get going into AutoCAD. So this is like homework, just like you did before. You don't have to dimension it, but you do have to figure out like front, top, side, get it in projection, figure out a scale, get it in your little title block. Boom, submit it. Good? Yes.
This is a pencil on paper.
Pencil on paper, correct. Sketch. Sketch. Whoa, lab 2, sketch, right here, this one. Okay, then there's lab 3. Yep, I'm piling them on, but this is gonna be our AutoCAD first experience, okay? And it goes back to the first one, right? The one that you did already, this one, right? But you're gonna do an AutoCAD this time. None of this 3-dimensional stuff. Good? Questions? I think you have a week. You have till the 31st on all of it, so you have time. All right. I think that's all we need with Blackboard. Pretty much don't need that anymore. Let's talk about AutoCAD. All right. We're gonna use it for 2-dimensional drawing. When you first come into AutoCAD, a number of different windows can be available. So in the lab, this is what the startup window looks like. At home, it might ask you a unit question, like you could get a dialog box and it'll say, hey, what units would you like and what's standard? Okay, so units is important. We're either going to draw in the US system, which AutoCAD thinks in inches, or we're going to draw in the metric system, and AutoCAD thinks in millimeters. Millimeters are very small. They're 25 times smaller than an inch, okay? So it's important for the first step to be that choice. Am I US or am I metric? Okay, so when I click new, it's gonna just fire into AutoCAD. It assumes you want inches right away. So if I do it again, up here at the red A, see, I'm up here at the far left corner. Oh man, that grid is just too much for me. All right, up here, right? If I hit new, it'll come into templates. So it didn't do that on the first one because that dialog box is kind of complicated. But when you hit new on your softwares at home or in the lab, it'll come into the template choice first. And it's saying, hey, what template do you want? Basically, it's saying, do you want a US template or do you want a metric template? Okay. If you skip this and you draw a metric drawing in a US template, it's 25 times bigger than it should be. This is a problem. When you go to scale it, you're going to be like, what? This thing is scaling it like 100 times to get it on the piece of paper. That's because you drew it 25 times bigger than it should have been. Okay. So this is an important step. There's a lot of these choices. Oh, there's one of mine in there. ACAD is defaulted. It's highlighted, right? That's inches. So again, it's thinking, they probably want inches. So we're just going to default this to inches. If you want metric, it's ISO. It's ACAD ISO. Systems International. Okay. If you want inches, it's ACAD. If you want metric, it's ISO. Thank you. All right. Just grinding that in a little bit here. We will do metric drawings. The first one's not, it's in inches. So I'm going to go ahead and choose. The rest of these are just versions of that, and they have other properties in them. Like the Donaldson one, that's US. I made it US, but it has all my personal settings in it, right? So we will make templates in this class, but not for a while. So just use theirs, ACAD, say open. The thing is, it looks the same whether you're in metric or whether you're in inches. That's the problem, is now you just can't tell anymore. But it's thinking inches. So if you don't make the choice, it's like, oh, it looks good to me, right? You just draw away. But there is a ways to tell once we get moving along a little bit. All right. This whole thing is a bit of a problem. Put it right in the middle. Yeah, can't do that. Put it right there. No. Put it over here. All right. These are our palettes and our tools across the top. You can see they're organized by drawing, modify, annotation, layers, blocks, properties, and other stuff. Okay. These are the tools we draw with. Obviously, modifying tools. Once we get things drawn, we can modify things, trim them, extend them, copy them, mirror them, all these kind of tools. I won't go through every tool. I'll introduce a lot of tools, but then you can kind of check them out on your own, okay? So don't hesitate to look up tools or work with tools that I haven't covered. You can draw any way you want. I'm going to show you one way to draw, okay? There's probably 20, well, if there's 27 of us in here, there'll be 27 different ways to draw something. You'll all draw a little bit differently. That's fine. No problem. This is our modeling space right here. This is the property dialog box. It's open on my system. It might not be open on yours. So these things, they're toolbars, and you can pull them around and dock them and just have them hanging out, right? Or you can get rid of them by Xing them out. So some things will look a little different when you look at somebody else's screen. They might have some other tools open. Sometimes back in the day when we had smaller monitors, you'd always have these closed because you wanted as much drawing space as possible, right? Because these things are hogging up drawing space. But properties is pretty nice. When I have a line and I choose it, I get the properties of that line. When I have a dimension and I choose it, I get all the properties of that dimension, and I can kind of tweak things and change things, okay? All right, zoom is the roller mouse. So I'll give myself an object. It's this roller thing, right? So that's pretty handy. And if you don't have a mouse, get one. Just steal one from in here if you can't afford a mouse, because this software is gonna really work better with a mouse, a lot better. Be breaking shit. Did you hear about what happened in here the other day? The monitor was like this. I know, I don't want to do it again. Oh, it's gonna go. See how it was? So somebody slid it back and I didn't notice it. And I just tapped the table, like knocked on it, and the monitor went. And it took the PC with it. The whole thing went. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. If you weren't here, you should have been. Everything still works, except for the monitor. That's over there now. That didn't work anymore. All right. So roller mouse is zoom. Sometimes you get zoomed way back like that. So now I'm zoomed way back. Where'd my circle go? It's gone, right? So, somebody will say, hey, my drawing disappeared. I'm like, you probably just did some weird zoom or something, or you just panned it off screen. Now it's apparently gone, right? So the zoom command and all commands you can drive with the keyboard. So you'll find veterans of the software, such as me, we are keyboard drivers, right? If you want to know where the fillet tool is, I probably can't tell you. I don't know, because I just type in fillet and run the software that way. I see it up there now. It's like up there somewhere. Fillet, trim, rotate, mirror, scale. All of those I would type. So there's hotkeys, like line is L and enter. Now I'm drawing a line, and I didn't have to go up here and click on that. Most of you will be palette button drivers because other softwares are driven that way. But I am definitely a typer. So most of the time when I'm driving, I will be typing. For instance, Z enter is zoom. So if you don't want to use the roller mouse or it's not working, because the roller mouse has a limited zooming capability. It only goes so far and then it stops. Okay. So if you want to get everything back, you use the zoom command, Z enter, and then you can see that there's options. So this is the command line. You're gonna hear me say, read the command line. Because this is where AutoCAD is trying to communicate with you. But if you're not reading it, then there's no like, it's not working. You're not communicating with it and it's not communicating with you. So you got to read the command line. I hit zoom. It'll take a real-time factor, some multiplier. I could write 2 and enter and it would go 2 times zoom, right? That's not very handy. But there is an A for all, zoom all, which means I see everything. So if I go A enter, my circle comes back, right? And I didn't have to like roller mouse for 5 minutes trying to find my circle. I just go zoom, enter, A, enter, and I get it back. Okay, so zooming, if I use the roller mouse, I can zoom right past it. I just went right past it. I can zoom back, but at some point it just stops zooming and it won't go. And then you can chase it trying to get it back and you'll spend a lot of time doing this and just go zoom in or all in and it'll come back. Okay, so that's kind of a big thing. If you hold the roller mouse down like a button, right? It's a button also. I don't know if you knew that. If you hold it down like a button, that's pan. And this is handy because we want to be zoomed in when we work in a region. Like if I'm going to work in this region of this object, I'm going to work here like this. I'm not going to work in that region right now. And you see students do this all the time. Like, what? Like zoom in, go in, zoom in, and work right here. Okay? So use that a lot. All right. How to draw. Line tool is what we're going to start with. So I'm going to give you some just basic skills on the line tool. I'll show you how to produce a hidden line because you have to make, did I open it already? Yeah, this thing, right? And it does have some hidden lines. So we're going to want to put those in. So I'm going to show you how to make hidden lines. And then I'm just going to show you how to make these visible lines exactly the size that you need them, right? Because the point is we're not sketching anymore. This should be exact. So we want to make it exactly the right size. All right. The easiest way to draw is what I call just point and shoot, just aim and shoot a line. So the line can start anywhere. When you pick the first spot, you get the rubber band attached to your starting location. So I'll do that again, line, enter. It says, specify the first point. It's trying to talk to you, right? That can be anywhere to begin with. So I just pick button. When you do that, anytime you do that, move the mouse so you can see what's going on, right? So there's the start point. And you'll see I have what's called a dynamic input going on. And it's highlighted, meaning anytime AutoCAD highlights something, it's ready to go. That box is ready. You don't have to click on it. You don't have to choose it. If I typed right now, it'll just go into that box. Okay, so this would draw a line 25 units long, inches, because I'm in inches, at what? 18 degrees. Aiming, distance, hit enter, boom, shoots it. Okay, aim and shoot. If I want to come back horizontally, you can see that the green line appears. If you move your mouse slow enough, AutoCAD's trying to help you find vertical and horizontal. If that's there, you're going to get it perfectly horizontal, right? And if I want it 25, I type in 25. If I want to go down 6, I go down 6. If I want to go over 6, go over 6. I'm just aiming and shooting, putting in distances and pointing to where I want to go. Easiest way to draw. Okay? So that'll get you a long ways on this assignment because it's mostly just straight lines. Now remember, it's AutoCAD. So once you get stuck, you can use construction lines to locate points. And then if we want to get rid of lines, the simplest way to get rid of line is just to not be in a command. So if it says type a command, that means you're not in a command. If it says something like select objects, then you're in a command. What command am I in? Erase. Yeah. So if you want to get out of a command, escape. Escape, escape. I always do it twice because there's some commands it takes 2 times to get all the way out, like back you out of the command. Okay, so if you're not in a command and you just select something, you can just use the delete key and it'll delete it. Right? So there's lots of different ways to do things. The delete key works fine. Just select it, delete. Or I could use the erase command, select objects, and then have to hit enter. Right? You just got to follow the commands, a couple of different ways just to erase things. Now, you can make, like, you're drawing along and all of a sudden you hit escape. Now you're no longer attached, right? So you go into the line command and you're like, well, I want to grab that spot, right? If you see the square show up, that's called an object snap. That's snapping to the end of the line. That's perfect. That's what we want. And it should be defaulted on, but if it's not, go right down here. And there's others. So there's a little triangle next to it. And I can see the object snaps that are available. Endpoint, midpoint, center, those are all active. Geometric center, not active. Node, not active. Quadrant, yep, it's active. Intersection, active. You can turn them on and off, right? So I should be able to see when I go into a line, I should be able to see the endpoint, should be able to see the midpoint. That's the only 2 things you can get out of a line, right? If I had a circle, I should be able to see a node. Yep. And I should be able to see the center. Yep. I'm not clicking anything. Those are automatic as I move the mouse. See the endpoint, the midpoint, the endpoint, a node, a quadrant, a center, right? Those are all right down here. If this is chosen, they're on. If it's not chosen, they're off. These are on-off buttons. Critical though, because if you do it without, I'm going to draw a line and I'm going to draw a line and I'm going to grab that endpoint. Wow, it looks good. Now that looks good. What do you think? Here, I'll zoom back. It's perfect, right? You submit it. What's Troy do when he comes into your drawings? He goes like this. That's not going to work. And that's not going to work, right? Object snaps, you got to have them. If you work out at a distance and you don't have them, you're not getting your endpoints. That makes sense? Object snaps are right here. Super important. If you're on a Mac, stuff's in different spots. Sorry. I know, he's shaking his head. Yeah, that's so true. So Mac people should sit together because don't ask me. I don't know where the hell it is on a Mac. I'm a Windows guy, so sorry. Yeah, that's not what we want. We want to get rid of these. I'm going to delete that line. It's going again. Endpoint, endpoint. No matter how close you get in there, it's perfect. All right. Hidden lines, last thing, and then I'll just let you start wrestling with this stuff, okay? The easiest way to do hidden lines, let's say that I had my circle here. Here, I'll change its size a little bit. And maybe I'll change its position. Like that's my side view, this is my front view, and I know that I have to have these projections over here. I'm just going to use construction lines to put them in. I'm watching my object snaps carefully. So that's intersection, that X. So I nail it. And then this green line's going, so that's good. And an X. So that's good. So this is a line. See how it highlights? Everyone see that? Yeah. And this is a line. So these are just, those are my projection construction lines. Yeah. Well, I don't want them. But now I have my two lines in projection. So one view will really help you make another view. Draw your front view first and then make your side off of it. Project things over, super easy. Best way to do it. These need to be hidden. Okay, so we're gonna turn them into hidden lines. This you might want to take a note on because it's not absolutely straightforward. AutoCAD is trying to save some memory. This is a very memory intensive software. So when you save files, those files are big. But if AutoCAD had all the line types in there, that file would be a lot bigger. So AutoCAD doesn't do that. It doesn't load line types until you ask for them. Okay, so if I go up here, here's the properties area, and I see a couple lines. The first one is line weights. The second one is line types, and there are none except for continuous, which that's what those are. They're continuous lines. There's no spaces in them, right? But you see the other? Boom. That opens the line type manager. Here's the line types available. Not very dramatic, but we can load line types. Notice how it's highlighted. Just trying to help you. Load it. The first sets are metric. I'll pass them up and I'll go down to the US sets, and then there is hidden. It's alphabetical. See it?
Multiple types of that.
There is. So hidden, and then hidden 2, that's half. So see how it's smaller? And then hidden times 2, and that's bigger. I don't know what this little dialog box thing is. Go away. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the hidden lines are going to be a certain distance apart based on your drawing. If you had a really small drawing, like if we were drawing a microchip, that'd be a very small drawing, tiny, right? So we want to use the smaller hidden, and it's still not going to be smaller, just so you know. But it's just giving you 3 choices based on your drawing size. So if you have like an average drawing, you use the average hidden to begin with. If you have a big drawing, use that big hidden line. If you have a little drawing, then use that smaller one. But again, you're still going to have to adjust it at some point. So I'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to choose hidden and say, okay, all that does is load it. It's just loaded. Okay, doesn't mean we're using it. Just means you have loaded it and it should be here available. Right? Everyone see that?
Yep.
Now, when we make templates, you'll load some lines that you're using all the time, and then it'll be in your template. It'll just be loaded. You'll never have to do this, right? But this is a good skill set because when you sit down at some other station, you need to know how to get line types when you want them, right? Now, to turn these into hidden, you just select them. Not in a command, you can select them, and you get these things called grips. That's what the blue is. And then I can just go up here and say, okay, make it hidden. Hit escape. I have a hidden line. Okay. Maybe that's a little tight. I don't like it. So I choose it, and I can see over here all the properties of these lines, including the line type. It's hidden. That's good. So if you're hidden, if they aren't showing up, check to see that they're truly hidden, because maybe they're not. And if they are hidden, then it's the line type scale that's not the right size for you to see it. So for example, if I put in 100, that's what my hidden lines look like. Are they hidden lines?
No.
Yes. Yes, they are. But the scale is so huge that the dashes don't show up, right? So same thing if I put in 0.2. Are they hidden? Yes. Oh, I didn't get it. 0.2. I was going to say that should show up. Kind of hidden. Look like dots to me. But yeah, they are. And if I zoom in, wow, they look perfect. But that's not where we look at it. We look at it from here, and they're not good. So again, you can mess with it. I think maybe like a 3 is what it's a little big, maybe. I don't know. And it is really, it's by eye right now. So good. Got some hidden lines going. All right. That's enough to get started. I'm gonna talk about saving and then just cut it into lab. Okay, if you want, you could get on a station and play with this. I have a saving file name convention I want you to follow. So. Up at the red A is where we save. Save as allows you to give it a name. What's the name of the drawing that AutoCAD suggested? Is a drawing 1. Not what we want, right? So I can walk up behind you and look and see if you've saved or not just by looking at the top of the screen. If it says like drawing 3, then I know you've never saved. And then I can hit your power button and you'll lose everything. And then you'll remember to save more often. How often should we save? How often? Come on, we're engineers, we gotta quantify this. Every 5 minutes, what other people think? Okay, fair. I like to say, save as often as you're willing to lose. So if you're willing to lose 8 hours of work, save every 8 hours. You're willing to lose 15 minutes of work, save every 15 minutes. Whatever you're willing to lose, save. Because I'm gonna walk up behind you and hit the power button at some point, and we'll just see. Really? That'll be exciting. Unless you don't run the system in here. All right, when you save, save as allows you to name it. The first part of the file name needs to be your last name. If you have a long last name, you can shorten it. Shorten it.
How long is?
I don't know. I'll let you decide. I want your last name first. And then it really should be the name of the exercise lab 3. It can be descriptive if you want, like, I don't know, widget. Holy, whatever we're drawing, right? Yeah. The other thing I typically do is I always note if it's US or metric, just to remind myself, because really what you're doing is you're giving notes to yourself in the future, right? Not in this class, but when you get out and start operating, you're gonna look through your file names from a year ago, looking for that one thing, so you don't have to draw it again. And if you didn't name it somewhat specific, you're not gonna know what the heck it is. So try to get kind of specific. But really, what I want is your last name and then the name of the lab or the exercise, right? And then what you should do is you should save it to the desktop. Now it's in the desktop, right? You should also then take that file and do something else with it. Don't just leave it in the desktop in here, it'll get wiped. So you can't leave it on the desktop in here. Tomorrow it's gone. Okay. At home, it should be in at least 3 different locations. Now, I know you're not going to probably do this, but you should. So maybe on your desktop, maybe in the cloud, if you have the cloud somewhere, you know, iCloud or whatever, Samsung Cloud or, you know, I don't know, whatever. And then I would recommend also in your email. So email it to yourself. Email is nice because I can get it anywhere. I can get on any station, anywhere. If I have internet, I can get into my own email. I can see that file sitting there, download it, and I can work on it. Okay. When you get versions of it, you need to update that file name. Yeah, V2, V3, V4, however you want to do it. So then you can go back to V1 when V4 gets corrupted or whatever happens, right? So multiple places I would recommend. Any questions? Should have a lot once you start drawing. So if you do it here, I'm happy to help. All right, we're done. We are officially in lab. Come and go as you please.